crappening. Uh, man, made me some notes here. I wanted to describe some things. I mean, listen, this stuff is only esoteric because people don't study. They don't care about history. They don't like to chase down the connections that are abroad, dude. They're everywhere. There is nothing, there's little left anyway, that is unprovable or it's undeniable, man. I mean, at least you can't necessarily even prove it, but listen, the information is compelling to kind of indicate that these things there's a connection. And I mean, you can kind of simply connect things just by association. Where do these same kind of concepts pop up over and over again? You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it's worldwide, so, but I mean, the variances in ethnicities, division from the original legend, and it's split into multiple breakoffs of an original source, or multiple original sources that broke off and broke off again, and each little branch gets more twisted and crazy. It's like this. It's like in Isaiah. I just read this the other day. Like, there's a symbol of a snake eating its own tail, and it mentions in Isaiah about the snake, the head and the tail, and it says the head is the ancient and the honorable, and the tail is the debased. You know what I'm saying? Like or something to that effect. I can't remember verbatim. Forgive me. But listen, you can look it up and I think it's Isaiah. But Isaiah 14 for sure. I just did a video on this the other day. It talked about this serpent becoming a flying serpent, and then it shall become a fiery flying serpent. You know, it's like an evolution of something. What is this? You know what I'm saying? What is this dragon worship? If you look at the fiery flying serpent, that's exactly almost what the Chinese talk about, this dragon spirit. It's not like your traditional European dragon that kind of looks like a dinosaur. This is kind of a snaky snake with arms and legs, and you know, this crazy bearded, you know, I mean, it looks like an alligator, snake, dragon. I mean, it's a reptilianoid. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure where they got their original. I mean, here's the crazy thing. It says that Enoch flew off into space on a fiery horse. And it also talks about one of the emperors flying off to space in a fiery horse of China. I mean, and it also talks about them flying up and down on dragons, similar to the way that these biblical prophets also went up and down out of the sky. I mean, and it's like this. If you've seen a rocket, it would look like a long snake in the sky, a fiery snake. So I mean, sometimes, you know, cleverly hidden, yet revealing enough if you have the eyes to apply it to the modern, to the ancient. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I want to show the Chinese Greek connection. Okay? Since I started studying martial arts, you know, I started this Bagua Zhang stuff. It's from China. I mean, but before that, I started, you know, studying. I started reading Bruce Lee's books. So I read a few of them, and I had a few years to ponder on it. You know, and then I start to find that this Bagua philosophy, a lot of it is straight borrowed. Bruce Lee borrowed it from this same school of thought. You know what I'm saying? And likewise, they borrowed from multiple sources of thought. And the people that brought it to them borrowed it from somebody too. And come to find out, you can follow this trail. You can follow it. I mean, certain aspects of it, okay? Certain aspects get added on and taken away and then reapplied in different ways in different areas. Because the cultures, you know, each culture assimilates the information in a different way. They have similarities, but yet it's different. You know what I'm saying? But there is overlapping, like even some of this Chinese, even stuff from India, like when it says karma. Listen, the Bible has a term for karma. I mean, karma is the simple word for what ye shall reap, ye shall sow. So that's a universal concept. Even though people in India don't know Christ, they would have considered Christ a guru. That's what the gurus are imitating, is a Christ-like figure, like someone who knows your stuff. And I mean, it is a good concept to live for others. But it's not a good concept to sacrifice yourself to spoil some guy who seems to have his stuff together because he has followers. I mean, it's monkey see, monkey do. And it's like you make these Darwinists and these social eugenicists people, you almost justify their poor opinion of you when you're so stupid. I mean, it's not your fault that you're stupid. It's sad that you don't know how. I mean, the stuff a lot of things that we think we know are total lies. And then once you start to rediscover what things really are, you start to be like, oh, holy crap. I might as well scrap most of this stuff that I've ever been taught. I might as well, in the stuff that I do, I'm going to take a fresh look at it. You know what I'm saying? And make sure I haven't missed something. Because over and over again, every time I read something twice, 3 times, 4 times, even watch a movie 4 times, 5 times, you catch things you didn't see the first time. It takes time. You need time to let it sink in, ponder on it, and apply it in your life and connect it to this present moment, and then even carry it with you, but not let it bog you down, but that you can recall it in the future. And then, you know what I'm saying? That is the proof. There's the faith in the works, is that I can prove it by letting you know, listen, I studied this, I could prove it, there's documentation, I've been ridiculed, called crazy, looked at as stupid, made myself, put myself in a vulnerable position. It's kind of like in the beginning in 47, when people got abducted by aliens, they didn't tell anyone. They were too afraid to be looking crazy to tell anyone. And this is the mechanism that keeps people sheeple. It's and willingly ignorant. It's that you're afraid of being looked down upon. I mean, and I don't blame you, because look, that it's a communist tenet. Hey, anyone who disagrees with us is mentally ill. That's why you gotta listen. That mentally ill argument is a scare tactic. It's to make you listen. It's to make you question and doubt everything. You know what I'm saying? Even when you hear some real truth, you'll doubt it. You know what I'm saying? And you'll resist it. You know what? But basically, back to the Chinese-Greek connection. This Chinese-Greek connection comes through India. Because listen, if you follow into Bodhidharma, this Buddha, Buddha is a guy who it's not a god though. Listen, down the line, people can revere them as gods. Apotheosis, humanism, man is God. Allah, arm, leg, arm, head, 5-point star. Islam, is India. Listen, if you look at India, look at the Muslims and their architecture and all their symbolism. It's almost identical. And China is very similar, but just a little different. You can tell there's an ethnic barrier, just like Muslims, Indians, and Chinese. They're all similar. That got mixed in together through Greece, when Greece pushed all the way to India. And it brought with it Greco-Roman type martial arts. Mars, the god Mars. He has a Greek equivalent, and there's an Indian equivalent and a Chinese equivalent. This is what tripped me out today. I was like, wait a second. The Chinese follow the same gods as the Greeks. They call them by different names. And how do I know this? It's by the fruits of the things that has produced from their believing these things. What have they produced? They produced philosophers, just like the Greeks, and sociologists, just like Plato. You know what I'm saying? People who ancient sociological thought. It's like Lao Tzu. I mean, I think this dude's before Christ. You know what I'm saying? When he wrote that book. And they were talking about how to control society. Where did they learn this from? Well, what it is when the Greeks took over Egypt, they inherited all the knowledge of Egypt and the Jews that were in Egypt and Babylon. That was before Egypt, where Egypt learned its pimping skills from, its social pimping skills. in which our whole system is based on that Egyptian matrix mold bondage. It's a life where it's easier to be in bondage. You got food, you got somewhere to stay, you got a structure, you feel you got a purpose, you get to see the works of your hands. Look, we built that big temple and those golden statues. You know what I'm saying? It's then the Greeks learn it, they spread it throughout the world. Then they take their learning of this martial art, it gets passed into India. India had its own. Now they adopt they amalgamate the original mixed martial arts, wrestling from the Greeks to the crazy weapons of the Indians. Or they had gunpowder, they had all this composite bow, they had the first gun, they had rockets way back in the day. Listen, here's something I realized. Also, here's another connection. Leonardo da Vinci and all his diagrams, his schematics that he drew all these weapons. Where did this go on anywhere else in the world? It did. In ancient China and ancient India. Because India and China, they're not brothers, but they're distantly related. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in a lot of cases, they go back and forth from trade. You know what I'm saying? And there's a Muslim influence. Because I read a Tai Chi book, and there was a dude named Muslim Sa. And it was basically described this original Tai Chi dude was a Muslim. He came from somewhere else, and he was just learning in China. So look, and then here's your alchemy. Where does this all come from? It came from Egypt, that Greece took it from, imported some of that to Egypt, or not Egypt. They imported some. They took that Egypt and the Greece. They brought it, imported it over to India. It ended there, and then it got planted there. It's kind of like when a guy goes into prison and he learns a gang philosophy, and then he comes out in the streets and he starts putting people down. And then in 3 years, you notice all these dudes dressed the same, like throwing up these weird hand signals and looking incognito. Excuse my French. You know, when I say that, I don't mean nothing bad. It's a habit to say it because I grew up in Flint. You know, and we all say it, so don't get it twisted. I'm sorry, man. If that offends, I'm sorry. Was not my intention. But anyway, philosophy, man. Philosophy is humanism. Humanism is in Greece by like Hercules. You know what I'm saying? He became a god, though he wasn't fully god, but through his deeds, his own works of his hands, he became apotheosis. Mortal men can apotheosize according to this philosophy, so that they were taught by these entities, these gods, these little g gods, these sun gods, moon gods, star gods, earth gods, water gods, fire gods, wind gods, gods of the dead, gods of the harvest, gods of sex, fertility, gods of dark magic, secrets. Basically, the only reason these dudes have so much knowledge is because at one point in time they had access to God and His counsel or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And then they kind of took that knowledge and kind of middlemaned it back to man for worship. You know what I'm saying? From man, because for some reason when we do deeds, we whip up this energy, and then we can do things. We can direct that energy. You know what I'm saying? And these gods like get a meal, they get bathed with it, or they can live off of it. It revitalizes them. They use it and transmute it and send it off somewhere else, or they multiply it. I'm not sure how it works, but I mean, I know there's something going on. Or why would all these same principles be all across the board? But yeah, okay. Oh yeah. Crazy thing. Where did this snake reverence come from? I mean, in the Garden of Eden, the snake, the serpent, in that context, I've heard it means the whisperer. So it's the one who tempts you. It's like no one else can hear it. It's like that voice inside. It's your conscience. It's the one that is fighting against your conscience. You know what I'm saying? You might think it's just you. It's just your urges. But sometimes it might not be. Very well, there might be something influencing you, because since you're unaware of it, you have no protection. Because if you did have protection, you would already be aware that these things do happen. Make another video real quick.